Hello, my name is Elena Pop. I'm the Executive Director of the Eviction Defense Network. We're also known as EDEN or EDN. Thank you for participating in our Tenant Empowerment Program. Use this video with our webinars and our empowerment classes. It does not replace legal advice or an assessment of your case by a lawyer, but it will really make you a very, very strong participant in the process, a superhero, if you will. Remember that laws change and the most up-to-date information is on our website and at our Zoom events.
Hello, I am Alma, a successful participant and volunteer in the EDN Tenant Empowerment Program. The Eviction Defense Network is a proud member of the LA County Right to Counsel Coalition and its Stay House LA program.
If you have a disability, including a learning disability, and need a reasonable accommodation, please let us know.
We cannot have social justice without language justice. Please help us by being patient with interpretation. Unless we are interpreting simultaneously, speak one sentence at a time and wait for the interpretation.
And that was Mark, who is also a participant in our Tenant Empowerment Program. We know you're stressed. Overcome your stress through knowledge and power. Watch the videos, come to the webinars to learn the law, come to our empowerment classes to learn the procedure and how to be a winner. Come to the tenant support group to get love and understanding and to be around people that have gone through what you're going through and were victorious.
You are here in our video series, How to Respond to a Summons from the Court.
Oops, that's actually how to create a perfect exhibit notebook. The script is wrong. Let's give a pow pow to the script girl, Elena. So we're here on how to create a perfect exhibit notebook. You should have already watched these two videos that explain exactly how to get legal help. If you have not, you should stop and go back and watch those videos. They are on the front page of our website at edn.la. If you can't name yourself correctly at one of our Zoom events, if you cannot write a good PIP, we will ask you to watch from Zoom to Victory, which is the second video in a breakout room, and to work with a volunteer. And this is going to delay your participation in the empowerment class and in the counseling. And by the way, if you don't know what a PIP is, you haven't seen from Zoom to Victory, so please watch it. And note that these videos are intended to be watched in order. So for the best result, you should actually have watched the first 4 videos before attending your first webinar.
Our website is your best friend. It understands your plight. It's available for you 24 hours a day. It never gets tired or impatient, and it has all the information you need to succeed. You can get this step-by-step training by going to edn.la/services and choosing summons and complaint on the drop-down menu. Take these 6 steps, come to your empowerment classes and webinars to ask your questions, and if you have your case, and to have your case assessed and evaluate for representation. After watching these videos, go on our website at edn.la, look at what is new, check out the glossary of legal terms on the website and the presentation. We will use a legal term and we will translate it for you from legalese to English.
It's never too early to start putting together your exhibits. Buy a 3-ring binder and buy tabs numbered 101 to 125. If you can't find the tabs that are numbered 101 to 125, just buy the ones that are blank and number them yourself, 101 to 125. Orange says you're connected to Eden. Organize your exhibits into these categories, the categories on the screen. Don't change the categories. You can add categories. If there's something that doesn't fit one of these categories, you can make it 114 and then 115, but make everything that you have that fits in these categories put in under these categories. Don't put your stuff in plastic sheets. just go ahead and be bold and hole punch them and put them in directly into the binder. The only exception is an original birth certificate or an original marriage license or an original death certificate. Those originals can go in the front page of in the little front pocket of the notebook, but make a copy and put it where it belongs in the exhibit part under the dividers. If your case actually goes to trial, you're gonna need 5 exhibit notebooks. Only one has to be in orange, but you can do all 5 of them in orange if you want. And all of them will need to be tabbed. But we're not doing that. It's a lot of work. Plus, if there's a correction on an exhibit notebook, and then you've already made 5 and we have to correct it 5 times. So just make one until we've gone over it. We know it's the right order, we know it's correctly paginated, and then you will make the other 4 copies. Also, we want to, you walk around with that exhibit notebook, you're going to get your settlement. No guarantees, but I tell you it's happening. So why waste paper copying notebooks that you're not going to need? So right now, when the webinar is over, when you finish listening to this video, find all your papers that have to do with your tenancy, everything in whatever drawer you have it stuck in, or 20 drawers you have it stuck in. Find those papers, hole punch them, and organize them under these categories. Eventually, we're going to have to number each page, but it's a very specific numbering order. So don't do it yet. For now, just put them in correct date order.
At exhibits 101, 102, and 103, we prove the background of the tenancy, the rental agreement or agreements, exhibit 101, proof of rent payment, exhibit 102, communication between you and your owner, exhibit 103.
Exhibit 101. So you want to find all your rental agreements. You want to 3-hole punch them. You want to put them in correct order under exhibit 101, but don't label them yet.
Exhibit 102. If you are being evicted for non-payment of rent and you live in a rent stabilized unit, find all of your rent from the beginning of your tenancy. If we find an illegal rent increase, even if just pennies, we win. If you are being evicted for non-payment of rent and you made a payment and you're not getting credit for it, find all of your receipts for the 2 years before the disputed payment and through to the present, but put them in the correct order. Receipts will eventually be put in a notebook, 1 receipt per page, and separately numbered. If there are thousands, potentially, we may put several pages. For now, get them in order, and we just put a little tape, put 4 or 5 on each page without overcrowding them. Or you can for now, get a pocket divider and put them in dividers until you have the time to organize them.
Put all your emails in correct order under tab 103 and then under this divider. So 103 is going to have emails, texts, and letters. So you have to divide them under this extra divider.
Scan all your emails with the landlord info PDFs in correct order. We will decide what to print after we review. We will print any that prove your defenses or that prove that what the landlord is saying is not true. In discovery, we may need to produce them all. For now, put them in the binder in correct date order under the emails divider. Text and emails are tricky. We can get very inappropriate in text and emails. Please don't. Keep it professional. Assume they will end up in front of the jury. How do you want the jury to see you?
Put all your text in correct order under this divider.
Scan all of your text with the landlord into PDFs in the correct order. We will decide what to print after we review it. We will print any that prove your defenses or prove that the landlord, what the landlord is saying is not true. In discovery, we may need to produce them all. For now, let's put them into a binder in the correct date under the text, under the divider that says text.
In this example, we see the date and time, but not the recipients. It's essential that we be able to see the date and time and who the texts are going back and forth with. So this is Alma's slide, but I'm going to say it because a script girl made a mistake again. So this is what it needs to say. Do you see how this one has the date and the time, and then also the so Kevin, you should be on slide 18. The numbers of the two recipients, you need to get it to print this way. Put all your letters and notices in correct order under this divider. And Kevin, we're on slide 19, and now Alma's up.
Okay.
Gather and scan all letters and notices in correct order. Again, we may need to produce them all in Discovery.
We will number them individually later.
The owner has to prove that they have a standing to evict you. Only an owner, master tenant, or management company with written authority from the owner to evict can evict you. If you have reason to believe that the person or entity evicting you is not the owner, or is not a master tenant from who you rented from, or the management company is doing it without permission from the owner, then get a certified copy of the documents from the recorder's office.
The documents that we're looking at right now is called Proving Your Case. It lists every possible piece of evidence that you can raise or need, or that you need to find based on why you're being evicted. So for instance, if you're disabled and the owner is discriminating against you or failed to give you a reasonable accommodation, then reach out to one of the agencies that are listed right here on the screen and have them help you put together the case that you need by asking for a reasonable accommodation. Another example is if you ask for an accommodation, a ramp, grab bars, extra time to clean up your hoarding, the eviction came shortly after that, then we need to prove that. So when did you make the request? When did the eviction happen? What papers prove that the chronology shows that they're retaliating or discriminating?
If you're being asked to move out of a rent stabilized unit so that the owner, a family member, or a manager can move in, gather evidence of other empty units in the building, or that the owner has other buildings where there are empty units. Gather all evidence that shows that before serving you the owner move-in notice, they tried to evict you for other reasons or offered you cash or keys. Also, gather evidence that they tried to evict other tenants for the same reason and did not move in. Gather evidence to show that there is no way the rich Bel Air dwelling landlord is going to live in your single in Pico using sample photos of their mansion. Depending on the rent stabilization law that applies to you, it may be that they can't evict you because you are the longest term tenant, Los Angeles, or because you are a senior or disabled in Los Angeles.
So in that case, you would need to prove that you are the longest tenant by talking to your neighbors and having evidence of when they moved in. If you're accused of hoarding or of waste or damage, you need to take pictures of the condition. If it's true that you are hoarding or that you did break something, fix it within the deadline the notice gives you and take pictures of the condition after it's fixed. Hoarders don't usually know they're hoarders. If you're being accused of hoarder, get an objective opinion, get help from somebody else. If you can get a doctor's verification that the hoarding is due to a mental illness or that you need extra time due to a physical limitation. So you have a heart condition, so you can't move as fast, so you need extra time to to cure the problem, or you have a mental illness, make a reasonable accommodation request to ask for extra time to get rid of the clutter. You don't get to keep the clutter, but you get extra time to fix it. The doctor will need to go on the witness list.
If you have an operative car, fix it. It is likely a lease violation. Keeping junk in cars is a violation of city laws in most cities. If you have an unregistered vehicle, register it. Or get rid of the car and take pictures that it's gone within 3 days.
If you need to prove that someone has moved out, you need to prove that they live someplace else. So or if you need to prove that someone has always lived in the unit or has lived in the unit for a long time or for any amount of time, then this is the kind of evidence that you can use. A lease for the other place, notices from that landlord to the tenant, the kinds of documents people would get if they live someplace else: vehicle registration, mail, utility bills. If you are filing a claim of right to possession, which is something we learned about in the video on how to respond to a summons, you need to prove that you've lived in this place since before the eviction was filed. So how do you prove that? A lease, rent receipts, that's the best way. But utility bills, this address on your license, look at this list and gather as much of it as you can.
To prove you were not served the papers, you need to prove you were elsewhere when they were allegedly served. If you were at work, your time records and a witness to authenticate them. If you were at a doctor's office, a medical record or sign-in sheet and a witness to authenticate it. If you were on an airplane, the boarding pass, etc., which you can authenticate.
So let me say a little bit about what authenticate means. You can't just stick papers into a court file. Somebody has to say where the paper came from, how it was produced, who wrote it, where you got it from. That's what authentication is. And usually the person who produced it or developed it is the person who has to say, I took that picture, or I was the secretary and I saw them sign in for their medical appointment at that time. Now, if you have bad conditions, request an inspection from an appropriate agency. You should be on slide 29, Kevin. Get certified copies of the reports, take pictures or video daily or at least weekly of whatever the condition is that you are that you're trying to prove. If something is standing still, take a picture. If it's moving, take a short video, no more than 30 seconds. It's better to have a whole bunch of 30-second videos than a 15-minute video. So if it's water that's dripping, then you might want a 30-second video to show that. But if it's a stain on a wall, we do not need a 15-minute video or a video at all to show the stain on a wall. It's not going to change during that time period.
If a unit is substantially uninhabitable, a tenant can withhold rent. The defense can be used if the tenant was not actually withholding rent. Now, the uninhabitable conditions have to exist during the months you did not pay the rent. You have to raise it as a defense in your answer.
And what that actually means is sometimes people think, oh my God, I went with this bad condition for so many years. And so now you want to start withholding rent, but they already fixed it. You can't do that. You have to, the months before, if it's already fixed, you can't use it as a defense in an eviction. If it's already fixed, then you have to sue in a separate lawsuit. And you need reports from code enforcement agencies. And those reports you put at exhibits 110, 111, and 112. You want to report those bad conditions to the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services and to your local city code enforcement agency and to your local city Department of Building and Safety. In general, the health department takes care of what we call vectors for disease, roaches, rodents, mold. And in general, building and safety or your local city code enforcement agency takes care of what we call bricks and mortar stuff that's structural. But sometimes these things cross over. As long as you have it cited by one or the other department, you should be fine. And then you have to put the inspectors that issued the reports on the witness list. Their names are always somewhere on the report, and you have to be ready to subpoena them. And for all defects, you need evidence that you reported it to the landlord. You don't get to just withhold rent. There has to be the owner. The owner knew about the condition or should have known about the condition, but it's best if you tell them with texts, emails, or letters. Now you can use the defense if the owner should have known, but it's a lot harder to win if you did not tell them.
If you want a witness to appear, arrange for someone to serve them as a subpoena to appear. This should be considered carefully. You need to know what they are going to say. They need to be friendly to your case. Use this to get inspectors to appear. There is a fee, which you can have waived with a FW002.
So on the screen right now is the proof of service for the subpoena that was on the prior screen. David? So I'm going to take David's slide. If you want them to appear with documents, use this form. It's called a subpoena ducis tecum, which is the subpoena form that you get to get them to produce documents. That was slide 34. Oh, actually, yeah. You will need to explain in detail why you need the documents.
Page 3.
That was blank, Elena.
Okay, you're on 37, so pick up on 37.
Under the law, these are conditions that you can withhold rent or if they are substantial. Damp, leaking ceilings and walls.
These are good examples of damp or leaking ceilings and walls.
For all pictures, each has to be on its own page. Each should have the date printed by the camera if possible, and if not possible, you need to explain why not and put the date and how you know it on the back. Be prepared to offer the metadata. Each will eventually need its own exhibit number, and anything that progressively gets worse should have a picture at the same angle each week, more often if necessary. Anything that is moving also needs a video. For example,
so you're still on, for example, the photo of the water dripping also needs a video. We seem to have lost Alma, so I'll just continue with the same slide 39. And you need evidence that you told the owner and cooperated with fixing. Again, those are your texts and emails. Other than the date printed by the camera and the exhibit number, do not write on photographs or annotate them or explain what they show. That's what witnesses are for.
Are we on floor 40?
We're on 40 and it's you, David.
If a damp condition develops, mold, document it.
These are good examples of mold pictures, but I will point out that it didn't just get like this. It started small and then it got bigger. So for each of these conditions, you should have a picture that shows the first time you noticed it and how it got worse and worse and worse. Again, taking pictures at least once a week, more often if it is getting worse faster than once a week.
anything that
You're back.
It's Alma.
You're back. Okay, go ahead.
anything that progressively gets worse should have a picture at the same angle. I just read that one.
Read it again.
Okay, sorry. If a water condition turned into mold condition, show that progression. You must get the mold tested and have a report and a witness to prove it's mold. Neither the health department of housing department or housing department will test. You need a private mold expert. And don't forget the text, emails, or letters that you reported.
And you notice on this one, we've added that metadata, but it has to come from the camera. You can't write it in. If you can't get this to happen straight from the camera, you need to flip it over and put the date and time on the back. Now, we're on slide 43, holes in walls, floor, or carpet. So you'll see where it is on the answer.
And these are good examples of holes in walls and carpets.
Now, you're not entitled to a carpet. It's not actually a habitability defect not to have a carpet. You are entitled to a smooth, cleanable floor and to live free of tripping hazards. So if there's something that's causing a tripping hazard, that will get cited. But if the carpet is just ugly, no. You are responsible for cleaning the carpet. And if you have a hole in your carpet, you need to explain how it got there. Now, this ruler is a good addition. While it's a lot of work, you should consider that you should have a version of all of your defects with a ruler to show how big it is. Or you can do close up and then something far away to give it perspective for each condition. And don't forget, for all conditions, you need to have that text, that email, a letter where you told the owner about it.
Peeling paint or falling plaster.
For a condition like this, first take a picture when the condition starts, when you first notice it. Then take a picture every week and take a picture more often if it gets worse more often.
These are good examples of falling plaster and peeling paint.
Now, it doesn't have to be pretty, but it does have to be safe. You're entitled to a smooth, cleanable surface. And sometimes landlords patch and paint, and then they paint in a different color just to harass you, just so it doesn't look good. But that's not illegal, and that won't get cited.
You're entitled to heat and hot water. If your boiler or heater don't work, call your gas company. They will cite it. You will need to subpoena the inspector to get the name.
Put a copy of the citation in your exhibit binder. And again, you need whatever text, emails, and letters you sent to report the condition.
Missing and torn window screens. You're entitled to open your windows in the summer and can't do it if you don't have window screens. You need those fixed.
But make sure that it wasn't Fluffy that caused the problem. And probably you shouldn't have a picture of Fluffy in your exhibit book. If it is your cat or your child or a pet that actually caused the harm, just replace them yourself, but let the landlord know that you're going to do that. If a window screen is bent, like the one on the lower right, you need to have an explanation. Is it that you locked yourself out and then broke in and therefore bent the window, in which case you're responsible for that repair?
As always, each has to be on its own page. Each should have the date printed by the camera. Each will eventually need its exhibit number, and anything that progressively gets worse should have a picture at the same angle each week, more often if necessary. A ruler is a good addition. Consider doing this on all your pictures. Also consider taking a perspective picture farther away and of each condition. Don't forget the text, emails, and letters reporting the condition.
Missing and broken windows. You need to be ready to explain how they broke. And again, don't forget, you have to report it to the owner. Text, emails, and letters. And the text, emails, and letters are going to be in the communication tab, not in this tab. They're gonna stay in chronological order in the communication tab.
Here is the check mark for defective and leaking plumbing.
These are good pictures of examples of defective plumbing or issues with plumbing.
Anything that is moving also needs a video. Don't forget the text, emails, or letters reporting the problem.
Missing or broken smoke detectors. Now, how did they break? Why are they missing? So please don't disconnect your smoke detectors, even if, this happens to me, right? I'm Mexican. We cook with a high flame. I am always setting off the smoke detectors and I'm always tempted to just shut it off or pull it out. Don't do that. It is dangerous and it can get you evicted. So open your windows before you start cooking with a high flame so that you're not setting off the smoke detectors.
Right here is number 9, common areas unclean.
These are good pictures of inadequate trash collection and unclean common areas.
These are good pictures of inadequate.
No, you need to be on 62.
Yes, infestation of roaches, insects, vermin.
Now, the document you're looking at with the checkboxes, that comes straight out of your answer. All of the agencies use this checkbox. Now, you on slide 63, you have to prove that the infestation is serious, substantial, and existed during the time that you did not pay the rent. Each should have the date printed by the camera. We will eventually add the exhibit number. Don't write anything else on the picture, and make sure you can offer up the metadata for all of the picture if you're asked to. In other words, you can pull up your phone and it can show you, I think that's what metadata means, that you can show the date and time that you took it.
You can also document mice by showing their excrement. Number 1, clean the area. 2, take a picture.
So in this picture, I cleaned the area by using like a highlighter to get rid of the excrement. And then you take a picture every day to show how long it takes to get from clean to this condition.
To document a roach infestation, put out a glue trap. Take a dated picture with no roaches in it.
And then take a picture every morning until it fills up and then start again. Make sure the picture has a date on it.
You want to reset the trap. Take the picture when it's empty.
This is a bed bug trap. So you take a picture in the morning and repeat that procedure daily to show that you have bed bugs.
This is also effective. Take a picture each morning, and videos of moving bed bugs, rodents, and roaches are very effective.
Unsafe stairways and railings. Again, this what's showing on the picture is right off of the attachment from the answer that was done either by a self-help center or the Tenant Power Toolkit. All of the agencies use some version of this because we work in a coalition, we share forms. So you will have some version of this checklist as part of your answer.
Box 13, you may need a locksmith for this one.
And you may need an electrician on your witness list to prove defective and electrical wiring.
You will need to pay for lead testing and an expert.
If your unit is protected by a rent stabilization law that requires postings of notices, then as soon as you get your notice to quit, the 3-day notice to pay rent or quit, the 3-day notice to cure or quit, the 30 or 60-day notice to quit for no reason, or whatever notice you're getting that starts the eviction, take pictures of all the common area walls, and particularly the area around the lobby, mailbox entrances, and laundry room to show that required notices are not posted. And you need to repeat that weekly. And you put those photographs at tab 107. And you should gather the names of and phone numbers of neighbors that are willing to give you a declaration that they've never seen those pictures before. Now, this instruction is for people that are in the city of Los Angeles and protected by the Los Angeles Rent Stabilization Ordinance. And it might be required in other local ordinances. You have to check your own ordinance. It is not required by the county ordinance, and it is not required by the State Tenant Protection Act.
Slide 76 is blank for me.
It sure is, because that's the speech that I just gave. So it's, if you're under rent control, these are the instructions for following, for getting the proof that you need in Los Angeles. Most of our cases are in the city of Los Angeles, so we tend to have better documents and be more prepared for LA City residents. So please watch our video on rent control. Very briefly, whether or not you are protected by a local law depends on where you live, how many units are on the lot, and the age of the building. We should be in 77, Kevin. Each law is different, but figuring out if you're eligible under any given law depends on that information. Where you live, what city you live in, how many units are on the lot, and the age of the building. That's why we ask for that information in the PIP. A jurisdiction is an area that has its own government. For example, a city or a county. The city of LA is a jurisdiction. The city of Santa Monica is a jurisdiction. The city of West Hollywood is a jurisdiction. And the county of Los Angeles is also a jurisdiction. So when we say jurisdiction, we just mean a city or a county. And there are local rent stabilization laws in the following jurisdictions in the county of Los Angeles. There is one for unincorporated LA County, one for Baldwin Park, Beverly Hills, Culver City, Inglewood, Los Angeles, our newest in Pasadena from last November. Pomona is also new, Santa Monica, and West Hollywood. Glendale has an eviction protection law, but the landlord can raise the rent whatever they want.
Is this me or Alma?
It's me, David. Find out about your unit at Zimas if you live in the city of LA and own it, or the Los Angeles County Recorder's Office website for the rest of the county. Watch our My Rights Under Rent Control for a tutorial on how to find this information.
I think that was slide 80. So we're going to back up to slide 70.
That
Eight.
shows a
78.
slide 78 for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So somehow it's a little bit wrong. So let me do a couple of slides to catch us up. And someday we'll have a bloopers video and also get someone to help us professionally do these. I keep telling people great information in our videos, but lots of bloopers. Okay, so we should be in slide 78 right now. And what should be on slide 78 is, Kevin, is something that says Housing LA Vivienda Ahora. Can you confirm that that's what you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, so if none of the local laws protect your home, then we look to see whether the State Tenant Protection Act protects it. The TPA protects all units in the state of California, except units that are less than 15 years old, single-family homes owned by nonprofit corporations, or it doesn't protect the second unit in a duplex if the owner lives in the first unit. And it also doesn't protect nonprofit-owned housing, public housing, student housing, board and care facilities, and other housing like that. So in order to know what you're protected by, you need to know where you live, and notorious for not knowing where they live are Angelinos, the guy in Pomona who thinks he lives in LA. Pomona is its own city. You also have to know how many units are on the lot and the year that they were built. And that's what we ask for this information in the PIP. The State Tenant Protection Act is also known as Assembly Bill 1482. It was passed on 9/11/2019, and it became law January 1st, 2020. The State Tenant Protection Act prevents increases of more than 10%, and it restricts evictions. And let's see.
79.
Actually, so now we are 79. Go ahead, David.
This is a summary of the TPA. For more information, watch my rights under rent control video.
Except that, and now Alma, why don't you do 80 and I'll pick up on 81.
Okay, this is a summary of the TPA. For more information, watch my rights under rent control video.
Okay. All right, I'm on slide 81 and it should be remedies. A remedy is the punishment or consequence for violating a law. Some of the rent stabilization laws have monetary penalties. Some say that you're entitled to actual damages if you suffer for a violation. So it might say, if landlord violates this, then it's $1,000 penalty for every violation. Or it might say, if a landlord violates this, the tenant is entitled to whatever they were damaged for that violation. And some say that the remedy for the violation is that the owner can't win the eviction. It becomes a defense to the eviction. I'm going to do the next few because I have a feeling that Alma and David have a slideshow that was before I sent it. That's not the most recent. So I'm just going to go ahead. The Los Angeles Rent Stabilization Ordinance has a requirement that 2 documents have to be given to you. One of them has to be handed to you or posted on the door or mailed, and the other one has to be posted in a common area where it is likely to be seen. And if this is not done, you can raise it as a defense in your answer. And if you can prove that it was not done, you should win. And this is a technical defense. It doesn't solve the problem forever. It forces the other side to start again, and it can give you leverage in negotiation. If you go to slide 83, is it Exhibit 107? Alma and David? Okay, I'm just going to go on then. Exhibit 107, at Exhibit 107, we want to put a sample of that first paper that has to be given to you. It's called a Statement of Registration of Rental Units for the City of Los Angeles because it looks like a certificate. Sometimes we just call it a certificate of registration. So if your unit is protected by the Los Angeles Rent Stabilization Ordinance, this notice must be given to you once a year. And if you can prove that it wasn't given to you, then you can win. Now, we usually don't win on this defense because somebody gets up and says that they gave it to you, even if they never did. Although most recently, I won a case because the owner didn't know this was a requirement and he testified, no, of course I didn't do that. I don't have to do it. I just have to post it on the wall. And that's not true. This one can be posted on the wall, but it also has to be handed to you. Exhibit 108, if your unit is protected by the Los Angeles Rent Stabilization Ordinance, this notice is required to be posted near the entrance to the building, preferably around the mailboxes, if there are mailboxes, or in the laundry room, or in some or other area where it's likely to be seen. And if it's not there, you'll win. So that means you have to take pictures, and you need to do it today, and you need to do it each week to show it's not there. And eventually it'll come up because they'll realize, oh, shoot, we don't have that. So they'll put it up and they'll, the date that you put it up. And if you see something posted and you're taking a faraway shot and you can't really tell what it is, you have to take a close up to show that it's not this form. And of course, you need to make a note of the dates of all of these pictures so that you can see when that actually went up. So if the unit is protected by the rent stabilization ordinance in Los Angeles and the unit is not properly registered, you can win. So we want you to go to the housing department and get a copy of the declaration of registration status for your property. You ask for the lowest address on the lot and make sure that the copy is certified. You notice this one is not. And the reason this one is not is that this is a sample. In our case, there isn't one, the unit's not registered. So this one is a sample. If we were using an actual one, we would have a stamp on it that says certified. This goes under tab 107. And to show that there are no required postings you need to pictures of all the common area walls. And it's all the walls. So in the sample here, it would be every single wall we need to, we don't know whether there's something posted right here on this side wall. You'd have to take a picture of that side wall. It's very tedious and you need to do it weekly. All of the walls. So if you go to 10, I'm now on 87, you need pictures of all these walls. And if you go to 88, here is the laundry room. Again, you'd need all 4 walls. Now, neither the TPA nor the LA County Rent Stabilization Ordinance have a similar requirement of postings. And if your unit is protected by another rent stabilization ordinance in the county, please check its registration and posting requirements and get evidence that it's been posted. So that was slide 89. There's nothing at slide 90, so just skip that. And now I'm at slide 91, and I think we can get Alma and David back in this. Look for the slide that says to prove that your income was reduced. I'll read this slide and then you guys can pick up Alma with the next one and then David after that. We really do think that it's better to hear different voices instead of one lawyer droning at you. And I wish I could make this more exciting, but it is what it is. So Exhibit 113 is where you put all your evidence that you have a COVID impact. And we should be at slide 91 for Kevin. And Alma and David are looking for the one that says to prove that your income was reduced. So what kind of evidence proves that? The letter that says you lost your job. Please make sure that letter says that the factory closed down due to COVID, not that you got terminated for doing something wrong. If you got terminated for doing something wrong, we don't think this late in the game we can prove that that's a COVID impact. Early in the pandemic, we might have been able to prove, yeah, you got laid off for that, but you can't find a job because of COVID. It's hard to prove a COVID case right now because everybody thinks the economy has reopened and that people should have jobs already. And so it really has, the reason you lost your job has to be a COVID reason, or proof that your hours were reduced, pay stubs and EDD documents, a proof that you have been looking for work and not able to find work. And if you were in a certain career, like this happened especially to people that are older, and depending on your industry, older it can be not so old, right? I had a woman who at age 45, gorgeous, is telling me that in the fashion industry, now she is old. And so now she can't find a job because she's competing against people in their 20s and 30s. But that means you got to switch careers. This is not a COVID impact anymore. You have to think of how you're going to make a living, and not count on your old job. You would need bank statements from September of 2019 to the present to prove that there's less money in your account. Tax returns from 2018 going forward. Receipts and proof of increased expenses. A good example of that, a woman in public housing who her income was reduced, but so was her rent. So that wasn't a COVID impact. But her kids stopped going to school and she had a bunch of teenage boys and they were literally eating her out of house and home because they now were no longer getting breakfast, snack, and lunch at the school. So that would be a good example of increase in expenses. Or school is closed, so you have to pay for childcare. That's a good example. Proof of your rental assistance process, medical information, if it's applicable. We have a lot of people that are sure that their spouse died of COVID, but they never took a COVID test and never went to the doctor, and the death certificate doesn't say that. We have about 6 cases like that. We're not going to be able to prove a COVID impact if you don't have something that says COVID, and anything else that shows a COVID impact. Alma?
Evidence includes photos, videos, emails, text, letters, notices, and witnesses. To identify witnesses, ask yourself, who knows about what you are trying to prove?
The key to success is preparation. And remember that journal that we asked you to keep in the very, very first video? Please be diligent. If someone says something that doesn't sound right to you,
Come check it out with us at the Empowerment class.
and don't misuse the cell phone or it will not be available to you on the day of your trial. So in this example, someone at the housing department told this person that if they eat green eggs and ham, they could win. That doesn't sound right to them. So at first they text and say, someone told me this. Is this a good idea? Is this true? And I responded, see you Saturday. That's my polite way of saying, come on, this is not a lockout emergency and it's not your day of court. You're misusing the telephone. And then they decide, oh, I guess she's trying to tell me that, right? So they decide to make use of their time. They go to court to watch instead of, sending me texts. If you're feeling a little anxious about your case, go to your courtroom and sit and watch for the morning so you can see how your judge operates. So they do that. So they're following instructions. But then on 1/5 of 2003, they text with one little question and I texted back an exploding head. If I text you an exploding head, it means, come on, you're really not paying attention, all right? And you need to stop doing that because you're at risk of my saying, I'm not going to let you have my cell phone anymore because you're abusing it. What people need to understand is not just you doing that. On any given day, between 15 and 25 of you send me texts like that, and I can't get my work done, and it's disruptive in court. And so if you want to continue to have access to my cell phone for lockout emergencies and for your day in court, you need to not abuse it.
Document your housing search carefully. We may need that information for a hardship motion if you lose your case.
Each page of an exhibit has to have its own number. You start by putting your evidence in the right tab and by organizing your evidence within each tab in correct date order. And when you have it all together, and preferably after an EDN staff member has reviewed it, you number the pages individually. So everything under 101 will be 101-1, 101-2, 101-3, 101-4, etc. Now we are trying to figure out how to get so many notebooks reviewed, and we are coming up with clever ways of doing that. I had someone pick me up and drive me to court, and I reviewed it on my way to court. And I often will invite people to have lunch with me at the downtown court cafeteria with their notebooks so I can review them. But I think we need to get more staff involved in reviewing notebooks for people who are not retained, for Tenant Empowerment Program students. And that's what you all are now. You are students. We were having a hard time with the court asking people, are you being represented by the Eviction Defense Network? And you would all get confused. The answer, unless you have signed 4 papers with us, a retainer agreement, a substitution of attorney, a confidentiality waiver for the funders, and an application. Unless you have signed those 4 papers, we are not your lawyer. You are a Tenant Empowerment Program student. And so when the judge asks you, are you represented by the Eviction Defense Network? The answer is no. I am an Tenant Empowerment Program student. And so right now, I'm the only one reviewing TEP notebooks, and I can't keep up. We're going to see if more staff can help us with that or train more volunteer lawyers to do it. For now, we'll just figure it out, right? Often this needs to be done in person because it's hard for me to look at the notebook if we're not in person. However, I have had a few people who are tech savvy put the whole notebook together in one PDF, totally numbered. I mean, not numbered. And then I look at it and then I instruct them to number on the PDF. We're now on slide 98, and I think it's David.
Exhibit 106, videos. Before you decide to use a video, ask yourself, number 1, is it short? 2, does it prove my case? And number 3, does it put me in a good light? For each trial, and each video has to be on a separate jump drive. The jump drives have to be individually numbered so that we can put them in correct order.
And think carefully about how you're going to be perceived if you show the video. It is very common for people to feel like they're victims to the harassment. But most of the videos I see that are supposedly show harassment shows the tenant acting out and the landlord behaving perfectly well. And the explanation is, well, they started yelling at me, but by the time I pulled up the phone, I was responding. Well, that still doesn't help, okay? Plus, you should never escalate. In fact, when the landlord is yelling at you, your voice should be getting calmer and calmer. Remember, we talk about that using that late night FM DJ voice and staying calm. You should always be calm. And I'll tell you a story. I was once in court and I was negotiating with a lawyer, and the lawyer started getting upset because my client wouldn't settle. He started raising his voice. The louder he got, the sweeter I got. The louder he got, the sweeter I got. The louder he got, the nicer I got, until the bailiff came out and said, "What's going on? Do you need help, Miss Pop?" No, Mr. I won't say his name, is just having a hard day today. All right. If you can stay calm, two things happen. First, you can't be accused of escalating or of being the aggressor, etc. And you can get a good video. And frankly, nothing gets under someone's skin more than their inability to affect you, their inability to piss you off, their inability to make you angry. So stay calm no matter what. Slide 99. I'm sorry, slide 100. Let me do this one, guys, just because this one is written in the first person. People often ask me, how often do I have to come to the webinars? You don't have to come at all. You should come as often as you can. You will learn something new every time. You will absorb not only information, but also a feeling of confidence. Don't be like our student who was smart and educated and organized, but also very busy, and thought she could cut corners and come sometimes and be in and out of the classes. In the end, she had not absorbed, she had the information, she had a perfect notebook, she knew the law, but she had not absorbed enough of the winning spirit. So even though she had those skills and information, she hadn't practiced them consistently. And after a day of jury selection, where I was guiding her by text, she felt like she had to take a deal to move out. We guided her through the negotiation, also by text, and she got a decent deal. But she had to give up a below market rate apartment. And I can assure you that that would not have happened if she had been a better Tenant Empowerment Program student. So please join us on Mondays, Wednesdays at 5:30 and on Saturdays at 8:30, very, very regularly, as often as you can. And I will do this one because it's an odd, and then David will take up with the other one. Our community is a ship in a storm. We are taking on water, and our lawyers are in the water rescuing others.
We can only give a lawyer to 10% of the people who need lawyers. That means 9 out of 10 of you need to learn to swim.
Help us bail water by educating yourselves. These empowerment classes and webinars will give you the knowledge and skills you need to survive until a lawyer frees up or until you are strong enough to represent yourselves.
We are available to you 6 days a week.
Help us be efficient at the empowerment classes and webinars by watching How to Get Legal Help on the front page of our website. And I know when you haven't watched it because you ask questions that are answered in the video.
And by reviewing Zoom to Victory regularly.
Know how to name yourself.
And have a current up-to-date PIP ready to post in the chat when asked to do so.
We are fighting for a better tomorrow.
A future where there will be enough lawyers for everyone.
Join your tenants union and ACE.
In the meantime, we are recruiting We are recruiting hundreds of tenants that have gone through the process successfully and are willing to help others. We are also recruiting organizers, teachers, the faith community, labor unions, and the staff of social and service organizations.
Remember that the Eden office is overloaded. So if we have you on a main email string, your email will say your name, your case number, main email string, always reply all. But if we don't get back to you, you need to come to an empowerment class, or preferably Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, but you can also come on a Tuesday, and then we'll look up what's going on.
Now, if you are confused or need emotional or support or more support, then we want you to go to the tenant support group meeting on Friday.
You are here in the video series, the Perfect Exhibit Notebook.
Be a winner, attend our empowerment classes and webinars regularly. Together, we can all be winners.
Arrive on time.
Please mute and rename yourself as soon as you join.
Watch our videos over and over and take notes. It takes multiple times to absorb the information.
Come prepared with your current PIP, ready to put it in the chat when asked.
Come prepared with your trial notebook and your exhibit notebook. The trial notebook has all your court papers. Your exhibit notebook has your proof. Watch the videos on how to put them together.
Memorize your case number, your opponent's name, the opposing counsel's name, and the department number that you're in. We're not going to waste time listening to you shuffle through the papers to find this information.
Listen carefully when we are answering questions from other tenants. You never know when another tenant will ask what you were going to ask, and if they do, please don't ask the same question. You also never know when another tenant will ask something that you wish you had thought to ask.
Be respectful of all attorneys, staff, volunteers, and other tenants.
Practice your late night FM DJ voice.
Practice your poker face.
And memorize the ship in a storm speech, because together we can all be winners.
Please look at the bonus materials for this video. We will walk you through each and every one of the forms and give you a preview to the law. We look forward to meeting you at the empowerment classes and webinars. And remember,
when we fight,
we win.
And
end recording.